Hello again, fight fans. I am Jason BURGOS for Sherdog.com, and today I am joined by a man who will be entering the octagon for the 8th time on May 13th in Jacksonville, Florida. On that night, he will look to hand upstart fighter Hunter Azure his first career loss. This is the first time I've talked to him, but I like him already because he's a fellow New Yorker repping Strong Island. Some call him Boom, others call him the best rapper in MMA. But in the end, he will always be Brian Kelleher. Brian, what is up? And thanks for the time to talk this upcoming fight.
Boom, what's up, man? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So to start, I just want to get your perspective for the last couple of months where you are out in Long Island. We are both New York guys in the American pandemic epicenter. I'm in the Bronx, which is rough. You're in Strong Island. Long Island's been hit pretty good too. What have the last few months been like out there? How has life changed on a daily basis? And also, do you have family or friends that have been impacted directly or indirectly by this whole thing?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, man. You have to adjust and adapt to the situations. I've done the best I can to keep myself in good shape, working out a lot outside, home workouts, stuff like that. I live with my parents, so that's kind of like the cautious thing that I have to look out for. I mean, they're
Yeah.
both healthy. They don't have any underlying issues or anything. I haven't had any problems with family members, thank God. But everyone's just trying to stay aware and stay cautious. But at the same time, you gotta go to work, and for me, this is my job. So it's kind of rough because we have to find a good balance. Like, who do I train with? Where do I train? Make sure you don't touch your face, this and that. Some people like to wear masks, and here I am preparing for a fight. So it got a little bit difficult, but I think things are starting to get better. It looks like more people are out on the streets, more cars I noticed. So hopefully things pick up from here.
I've talked to a few fighters that either training for fights like the Tachi Pals fights they were trying to have with UFC and didn't go through, or people that are going to be on this card you're on too. Did you like how differently did your camp change in terms of the size? Because I was talking to Ryan Bader a couple days ago. He talked about before his fight was postponed, his camp was down to like 4 people. Have you gone from something usually you'd work out anywhere 10 different people in the camp, and now it's just like 2, 3 dudes you're really sparring with?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it is. I was doing like pad work with my striking coach a couple times a week before all this, and just in case, because we had a feeling, something short notice would come up, especially with these circumstances. A lot of opportunities are gonna arise. So I'm like, all right, I gotta stay somewhat ready. The main thing that was hard was, keeping my weight down. I was, doing running, doing bag work, doing a lot of weightlifting. So I put on a little muscle, and the weight wasn't coming down. So I was like, I definitely can't fight at bantamweight. But my camp, was essentially grabbing a few high level guys. I worked a couple times with Aljamain Sterling. I sparred with Marab Dvalishvili, and
Okay.
I have my younger brother who has also fought professionally helping me as well. So I have a select few guys that I'm trusting, that I'm working with to get me ready for this fight.
And I'm glad you brought up the weight thing because I actually talked to Hunter Azure yesterday, and a couple of things he said that I wanted to talk to you about. One of them being that you messaged him that you were getting contacted by the UFC about this possible fight, and you had suggested, look, I can't make 135 like you were saying. The weight was coming off hard because of the unique situations. Can we do featherweight? And he
Yeah.
was down for it. Like, what would you say? Like, where were you at? Where were you be at weight wise? Like, if you had to make 135, where were you at like 2 weeks before the fight compared to where you would normally be at?
Yeah, so normally if I have to make 135, 2 weeks before the fight, I'm about 150 pounds.
Mm,
And, I kind of maintain that weight up until fight week, and then I cut from there.
mm,
Um, at this moment, when these fights were being proposed, I was like 164, and that's like
wow.
not normal for
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean? So like, I never get over 160. I'm always usually like 155, 156 tops. So right then and there, I'm like, oh man, I have to try to get my weight down a little. Even for featherweight, I still have to try to get down
Mm.
to make it reasonable. And everything's working out so far. Now I'm lying in like the mid 150s, and it shouldn't be too bad of a cut. And I'm thankful Hunter was willing to meet me at 145 and get the fight done.
Now, I talked to Billy Quarantello like 3 weeks ago. He was talking about how before his fight got postponed, he was worried about making the weight for himself because, like, the usual things he would use, which I think for him was a sauna, he didn't have the capabilities down in Florida where he was at. They just weren't the facilities available to him. For you, as you try to make this weight cut, now granted it's not going to be at your normal way, it's going to be a different way, but what type of things would you use that you won't have available to you for this weight cut? Or in a way, is everything kind of normal? It's just that the fight came up on like a later than expected kind of thing.
Yeah, the weight cut itself is going to be smooth. It's going to be fine, especially fighting at featherweight. I think, the hotel room's going to have bathtubs. They're going to have
Mm,
personal saunas for individual fighters for their rooms,
okay.
being that we're isolated from everyone else. As far as the weight in general, though, it was more the preparation. It was more that I wasn't able to go into jujitsu practices. I wasn't able to get
Mm,
sparring sessions until I literally had to. So I wasn't getting the consistency of intensity of training, and my body adapts very quickly to that because it's used to a certain output, and once that output changes, it slowly gradually my weight goes up.
mm. Okay. And I'm glad you brought up the sauna is supposed to be there, because I was going to ask, what have you been told, you and your team have been told by the UFC so far before you head down to Jacksonville, in terms of is the situation going to be like? You mentioned saunas and stuff like that. Are they going to also be like a restaurant on the grounds where maybe prepared meals have already come in from the PI or from the restaurant you guys going to be offering? Is there going to be rules like if you leave the building you got to get COVID tested again? How many COVID tests are you going to get before the fight? Like, have you guys been told about all these various really strict protocols they're going to have to have?
Yeah, they sent us out an email, and also, we see the guidelines kind of playing out with the UFC
Yeah.
249 happening. So I see a lot of videos arising. As soon as you show up, apparently, within 10-15 minutes, you're getting screened, temperature checked, and then you're getting the nose swab for the COVID test. You're getting the antibody test with the blood. And then once that happens, they're recommending you go straight to your room and you kind of isolate until results come.
Hmm.
And then once results come, you can kind of go about your daily routine and your workout and stuff like that. But every fighter has an individual workout room, supposedly, and an individual sauna to use,
Okay.
those little box saunas. So they're trying to keep everyone as separate as possible. And then I know there's a restaurant in the hotel that is doing 24-hour room service in case you need that or your corners need that. And then they also have the UFC PI, the trifecta system there as well. I think fueling the fighters for their weight cuts and refueling them for the rehydration process. So I think for the most part they just want to keep you in the hotel, stay there, don't go outside and come back in. But I'm not sure how strict those rules are yet.
So the obvious question is, are you ready to have the gigantic Q-tip stuck up in your nose and touch your brain?
No, no, I'm not ready for my brain to be tickled, man. I'm like anticipating the shit out of that. I'm like, no, I don't want this to happen, but I got to do it. I'm just gonna close my eyes. I think it's just gonna feel weird. I don't think it's gonna be like, oh my God, this hurts. I think it's just like, oh, that's weird. And then that's it. It's over pretty quick. So
And that's great to hear, because as like a regular, you guys are fighters. Like you're used to being somebody trying to physically attack you in a cage. But to know you guys are even worried about it makes me feel better for when the day comes. I might have to get one. But now, going to the fight itself, Hunter made a comment, a quote to me that I want to read to you from our conversation yesterday. He said, in terms of like your background, your resumes and stuff like that, we definitely took a lot of looks at his losses and his wins. I see his guillotine as the best thing he has to offer me. I feel like I can beat him anywhere, and 10 losses in your career, that's a lot. He doesn't have the heart I have. He doesn't have the cardio or the mentality as me. I am the new up and comer. I'm going to prove that May 13. Brian, thoughts?
yeah, man, that's his opinion. I definitely have had my fair share of losses, but this guy is coming into a fight where I have a lot more experience. If you look at my competition, I've fought way tougher guys, way better
Mm,
guys, and I think that's going to play a role in this fight. I think maybe he's underestimating me due to my losses and even due to some of my wins. Quick finishes. You don't get to see a lot of my style and a lot of what I have to offer. Yes, my guillotine's strong, and and if it's there, I'll take it. And but I have a lot more to offer than just that. My scrambling abilities, my heart's definitely there. My cardio is there. I'm always in shape. And I believe at 145 lately, I've been feeling a lot more more powerful in the gym as well. Just having that extra weight, we're gonna find out when I get in there, the rewards that I've reaped from not having to drain my body down to 135 and get in there and put my hands on this guy.
Is there any belief that you've had so much success at bantamweight, so I don't, there's not necessarily any real reason to switch, but if you did feel really good, if you went in there and somehow wrecked him, would there be a thought like, maybe I should try this featherweight thing again, or no, it's bantamweight's the home you're going to go back to no matter what?
And by the way, let me go back to Hunter real quick. I was thinking, like, the guy says he's better than me everywhere, this and that. First off, he's got the wrestling background. I looked at his fights. I don't like to talk too much trash, but just because, he had some stuff to say, I'll go off on some honesty as well. I feel like, I watched the Katona fight. He's the wrestler. He got taken down over and over. Yeah, he's good at getting up to his feet, but he doesn't seem to be going for any submissions. He doesn't seem to be trying to finish these fights. He seems to throw two punches out of every single thing you have in your repertoire. He throws a lot of hooks, left hook, right hook. He throws one-off kicks. He keeps his hands down. I mean, I don't know if I'm giving him too much information here, but hey, I think I have the more well-rounded skill set is what I was saying. Sorry, get back to that last one.
Yeah, so would featherweight be something you stayed at if you did really well on Wednesday, or nah, bantamweight's the home, you'll go back to that no matter what?
Yeah, no, I'll go back to bantamweight. I'm not like the biggest bantamweight. It was just really these circumstances that brought this opportunity to my, attention. And I was like, for me, I'm not the tallest guy for bantamweight. I'm not even the biggest bantamweight. I just got heavier because of the circumstances. I think bantamweight is perfect for me.
Now, I want to ask you, as a fellow New Yorker, because it bothers me a bit in this way, and that because we are in the hardest hit place, the place where they're having to use freezer trucks to store the dead bodies because there's so many so fast. Now, I'm glad that the UFC has offered you guys COVID-19 like legit tests, so you guys can stay safe, do the right thing. But considering that, like, testing supplies and these tests are pretty scarce across the country, even here in New York, does it feel wrong in a way that you guys are getting a bunch of tests and maybe get multiple tests before this fight when, maybe first responders or essential workers may have trouble getting? I mean, is there some guilt on some level about that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought too far into that, but when you bring that up, I feel like if that's the truth, then I kind of do feel like, professional athlete or someone who's putting in work in some other area. I mean, it is all work for everybody trying to make a paycheck. It's really not our choice. Like, we have to get tested in order to fight. So in order for us to make money, it's just like one of those things where like you got to do this. It's not like we're intentionally trying to steal from others' health and safety. But I do feel for those people, and I do hope that any of those people that need testing that feel symptoms are able to get their hands on that. I hope that more tests are coming over, more efficient tests and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens with that.
And I'm glad, and also that, like I said, I'm glad they're doing it. Does that on some level also that you're getting the legit tests? It's not like, oh, we're bringing in these great doctors and they're going to do temperature checks and a battery checks, that you're getting like legit COVID tests. You mentioned the antibody tests. Do you feel a little bit less stressed? Like, were you going into this like 2 weeks ago when you know the fight was going to happen? Like, damn, like, especially when you hear like Roger Gracie got it, Lyman Good got it, and they talk about how sucky it was to have it, and you can get pneumonia and all these kinds of things. All right, is there some relief, or you know what, you were one of those fighters like, no matter what, I was going to go there, I was going to deal with whatever happened?
I mean, I was going to go and do my thing either way. I think the main thing is to eat healthy, to take care of your immune system, and do everything preventatively, to avoid stuff like this. This stuff is going to come around again, supposedly. And, there's other sicknesses and stuff. And I think just being cautious of your own health on a daily routine is the most important thing. But I am happy they're testing us. I think it's good to know a little bit of clarification, like, hey, I don't have it, my opponent doesn't have it. Let me just be smart. And the worst is the flight. That's the only thing is like, you're going on the plane. Who was on the plane? Did they clean it well? And the airport shouldn't be too busy. But I'm happy they're taking the safety measures, because I think for the UFC as a sport, it's a good thing. And also it makes sure that this attempt to put fights on during this pandemic is going to come out on the safe side and not have any issues moving forward.
I was fascinated to learn the legit rap skills you have when researching for this conversation. So, how long have you been rapping, and where did the influence to actually start spitting bars come from? We're New Yorkers. There's tons of great New York rappers we know about. So, who was the person that influenced you to say, "Yeah, I can rap"?
I don't think it was one person. I think just music is in my DNA. Like my family, my dad plays guitar, he sings. My grandpa played trumpet, and he was in a band and stuff like that. And I just been around it my whole life, and I always was singing and rapping and into music like that, and really feel the music. Get chills, get passionate about it, and I think I just took off from there, and I just kind of like to use my mind to create, to write, some different wordplay, rhymes and stuff like that. And kind of it's therapeutic for me. It's more of like a hobby. Like in between my training, it's a way to like enjoy my time, my downtime. And so I started doing that, and I've been writing for a long time and just kind of having fun with it. And now I record some songs, and I send it to the producer. He works on the logistics and then gets it back to me. I really would like to take it more serious and like make a legit mixtape and like put it out there, like
Mm.
a full, mixtape or album, and like get it out on Spotify and stuff like that. I only have like 3 songs up there, so I definitely have a lot more done though.
Would you at least would you possibly think about? I mean, because and you got to do what you got to do, but and the UFC especially is so much about branding. It's so much about pushing your name out there, and if your brand gets higher, the big opportunities get bigger. For better or for worse. Would you think about maybe doing like diss tracks on an opponent? I think the Brian Kelleher diss track would be fucking awesome for the next fight.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, man. I for sure. I think like what people want to see is my post-fight interview. They want to see
Mm.
me just go off on like a
Yes.
rap where I call someone out, and
Yeah.
I think that's cool too. I think doing it that way is cool. I think that's definitely a way to stand out amongst others. I think even like legit writing a song, a diss track, and putting it out there on the internet,
Mm.
YouTube, maybe it goes viral, something like that. It's definitely a smart idea to look at it like that. I've done funny things, like with the ukulele,
Mm.
and I've done a couple other things on Twitter. But I think to do it more frequently and make it like my thing, my
Yeah.
shtick is a smart idea.
Now, the end of it all. Then tell me now, best three lyricists of all time. Who is it?
Oh man, this is tough. I get these questions sometimes and I freeze up because there's so many good guys. Like I'm trying to think like new school rappers, it's not the same in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
it's getting worse,
Yeah.
like hip hop in general. I'd say like Eminem has to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Tupac, who
Mm-hmm.
I haven't listened to enough frequently, but what I've heard, like
Yeah.
and a lot of the things, he's one of the best songwriters. So him, Eminem, and then I guess if I'm gonna pick one from the new school age, like I'd say J. Cole and Kendrick are like right there neck and neck.
Biggie, no love for New York Biggie, Eric B. and Rocket. Come on, Brian.
I should have picked Biggie over Tupac. I should have went East Coast, but
Yes.
it's what came to me.